The Friday Night 360AZ preview show. I'm Haley Stasiak here with Jordan Ham. We're going to get things rolling here. We've got quite a bit coming up this show as we get ready for football season. Week 0 is next week, so we're calling this week -1 now, Jordan. We've got at 11:15 Justin Spears of Arizona Daily Star and ESPN Tucson. At 11:30 we'll have Chaparral head coach Brent Barnes, and then at 11:45 we'll have Arizona Varsity's Cody Cameron. Hard to believe that it's already football season, Jordan.
The offseason continues to get shorter and shorter each and every year. And yeah, now we're in no sleep mode until December. So welcome back, everybody. But yeah, excited to be back. A lot of really interesting storylines, a ton of really good talent, recruiting wise, and a lot of just coaches moving and kind of new eras starting. So it's going to be an exciting year.
Let's get into some of the stuff we've seen in the offseason. We're calling this segment now the kickoff, getting things started. What have we been keeping offseason tabs on, Jordan? I think for both of us, this is the new coaching changes that are at these big time programs.
Yeah, it's you don't have programs like Hamilton, like Mountain Point, like Brophy, like Chaparral. These really big prominent programs switch coaches a lot. And they all did in this offseason. And then you also throw in Cactus, where it's been Larry Feckenheier for so long. Now it's Joseph Ortiz making the move from Higley, Arcadia. You have Kerry Taylor coming in and really kind of setting the standard a lot higher and the expectations a lot higher than what that program had been doing the past couple of years. They had been struggling, but now it's a new young coaching staff coming in trying to take over. And then Castile, the 3A state champion from last year.
Kind of an unexpected coaching change.
Yeah. Coach Stowers moving back to North Dakota, so that creates a new coaching change for them as well. They're making the jump up to 5A. We're gonna get more.
Right. In just a second,
talk more about that. But yeah, it's the coaching hires it's been crazy this offseason with the programs that continue to start their new eras.
Another one of those coaching changes that I wanted to point out, and this is kind of my team to watch, which we're going to get into a second here, is Marana.
Yeah.
Louis Ramirez there, spent some time down there in the offseason. Pretty impressive stuff just by the way things are being run down there, and speaking to some of those players, it was a kind of the culture changed as soon as Coach Ramirez came in there.
Right, and he is a former NAU coach. That staff actually has quite a few college coaches on that. And what opened up that position was Andy Litton moving up to Hamilton with Coach Zadebski to be his offensive coordinator. They're revamping that Hamilton offense. So a lot of really good football minds have been moving this offseason.
And as mentioned, we will have Chaparral's new head coach, Brent Barnes, here in the show later. Let's get into these teams to watch in 2018 kind of thing, I guess.
That's not the name of the segment, Haley.
Okay, Jordan, what are we calling this segment?
It's New Division, Who Dis? Because this every 2 years, teams will make the moves, have their realignment in the divisions, has created a lot of interesting storylines. We already mentioned Castile. They were going from 3A all the way up to 5A.
Yeah, and that's the one I'm definitely keeping an eye on there.
Yeah, so that's one that's certainly one to keep an eye on. For me, I have two. We have the Higley Knights, who are making the jump from 4A to 5A. They were in the 4A state semis, played Saguaro down to
That was the game
end.
that I was at. That was a very close one, exciting.
Yeah. And they return so much talent. Spencer Brash, the quarterback, committed to Cal. You have Ty Robinson, one of the best defensive ends and tight ends in the state, in the country. He's one of the hottest recruits. Jason Harris, I was talking to Coach Zuby this morning. It looks like he will be cleared from his injuries from the past year. He is a 2020 guy that's supposed to be a top 10 talent in the country. So this front seven is going to have a lot of excitement up front, a lot of playmakers to really impact that. They're now in a wide open 5A. I think they're an instant contender alongside Centennial and quite a few other teams. I mean, we'll certainly break this down as we go deeper into the season, but I think Higley is definitely a player in 5A. And then the Central Bobcats, they go from 6A to 5A. They've always had talent, but this year especially, it seems like John Clanton has a lot to work with up front on the defensive line. Eloy Quete, Cosmos Quete, and his son, Casey Clanton. Clanton plays on both sides of the ball. He's a tight end, being recruited a little bit more, I think, as a tight end more than a defensive end. But the Quete brothers, an incredible story. They came from, refugees. They were on national teams for rugby. They come to Central. Coach Clanton meets them, and says, hey,
you need to play football.
Yeah, let's get this together. So they're in a really interesting story. Stat fillers, definitely getting some looks from Division I talent. I think they're better suited in 5A because they have the one struggle they have had is with numbers, but they may not have the quantity, but they definitely have the quality with the Central Bobcats.
You briefly mentioned Castile, and I chimed in that was what I was watching here. They're making the move from 3A to 5A. And so what I'm keeping an eye on here is how they compete with those 5A schools. You open up the season against Centennial in week 0. We're going to get into that next week. We'll cover that fully.
No tougher 5A team than the defending state champions.
I mean, I just think it's going to be a challenge that they didn't see necessarily in 3A when they were there.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that I'm keeping an eye on.
And we discussed it last year, Castile, with the numbers that they had, but because of the way the schedule worked, they were kind of that big fish where they, a lot of 3A programs have to have guys go both ways. They were equipped where they didn't really have to do that because they had the numbers, but they knew they were built more like a 5A, like a 6A team. Now they're making the move up. They have a ton of talent who has played a ton of varsity football. And if you look at it, maybe when you look at other 5A programs, who have to go more through a freshman JV varsity type deal, this team, the numbers are, maybe not quite there as a typical 5A quite yet, but they have maybe more varsity experience than a lot of these 5A programs. So I think that they could be a player as well, but it will certainly be a transition.
It's not going to be easy.
It'll certainly be interesting as they navigate their first year in 5A.
Let's get into now our players to watch for the season. For me, out of Highland, it's got to be Connor Colmore. I mean, running back, safety. I was out at Highland this spring. Watching the way he worked with other guys in his leadership role really stood out to me there. And just, I mean, he's put his head down, play the game. He's going to go out and do his job. Chatting with him, you could tell he was like, I just want to get back to practice. I'm going to go do my thing.
Can you please stop talking to me, lady?
You just see his demeanor and the way he plays the game, and I'm impressed with him. So that's my player to watch. Who's your player to watch?
Mine is Ty Thompson over at Mesquite. Chad DeGrenier has had some pretty solid programs with Mesquite, but this type of talent at quarterback, I think he's kind of going to be that next wave, a part of that next wave. He's going to be a sophomore, 6'3", a big-bodied guy, has a huge arm, and I know that they're really excited to see what he can do now that he had a little bit of experience at the varsity level, but I think that this is a guy that over the coming years people are definitely going to know, and that's Ty Thompson.
Coming up next on the Friday Night 360 AZ preview show, we've got Justin Spears from Arizona Daily Star and ESPN Tucson. He's going to talk to us about Tucson schools. We'll be back.